Well, g'day, curd nerds. G'day, curd nerds. Well, 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 g'day, curd nerds. Welcome back to Ask the Cheeseman, and hopefully the mic's on. Yes, looks like it's on. It's all working. Fantastic. It's great to see so many people in the chat so far. Unfortunately, and Kim's already alluded to this, Ben will be here next week, so Kim is manning the moderator position today. So no naughty boys or girls today, please, because Kim is in the room. All cool. Now, big shout out to all YouTube members and patrons who financially support the show. I really appreciate it. No new ones since the last show, but seeing the last show was on Saturday, I probably didn't expect anything. Not that I expect anything anyway. I really do appreciate everybody's kindness in supporting us financially. Big shout out, first of all, obviously to Ruth. And Ruth's hit us up with a $10 super chat already, which is well before the time I got here. So fantastic. And thank you very much, Ruth, for your continued support for the not only this live stream, but for the channel in general. Okay. So yeah, Kim's got a bit of a chesty cough, so she didn't want to pass it on to Ben, so that's why Ben's not in the same room with her. Seeing Ben's having all these medical issues at the moment. Now we did announce, I think it was last Wednesday, that the poor bugger has got not a blood disorder. It's called Hughes syndrome. So his blood is a lot thicker than what is normally in the normal human body, so that's why he's on blood thinners and is prone to clotting, so that's unfortunate. So he's on medication now, which is going well. We're just going through the stage of sorting it out and neutralising the level that they want for the warfarin that he's on, which is a shame. You know, he's only a young bloke, so hopefully everything will be fine. So now on to some housekeeping, and so the video that I've made 3 videos this weekend, hence the reason I didn't actually schedule one, because I was busy filming them. So, catch-22 really. So the video that will be released this week will be Schiz. Spelled Schiz. It's an Italian Alpine, it's an Italian lowlands cheese that, anyway, you'll see on the video. It's quite nice. I enjoyed it. The next one that's in the fridge at the moment, maturing, is Crescenza. I think I pronounced that right, so that's pretty cool. And that's another Italian cheese. And I'm working on a stabilised paste bloomy rind at the moment, which is kind of like the camemberts that you find a lot of commercial producers will make, because the paste doesn't go runny like the traditional raw milk French camembert. So I'm working on that. I don't think I've got the pH right. I definitely haven't got the size right, so I may have to remake that cheese. I've got some spare milk, so we'll see how that goes. And last but not least, and Kim's been on to me for ages to make this one, and that's the spicy melty cheese, which I'm going to make out of the triple pepper jack that I've still got some left. So that's what's going on in the world of cheese. So I do make things that people have been asking for, especially around the stabilised paste one. People have been asking that for a while. Anyway, let's have a look at what people are saying in the chat. So I will read out the very first one of the day, which is from Ruth, and thank you, Ruth, again. Hi, Gavin and Kim. Hello, world, curd nerds, and welcome, Ben. Unfortunately, he's not here. Our love of your parents extends to you. Hope you're feeling better and better. Keep calm and eat cheese. He's definitely doing some of that. Now Ruth says she thinks she's got a fear of missing out, or maybe that's just a USA thing. She definitely has it about the new show. I won't be able to come most of the time, but I can watch the replay 6 times before stirring, while stirring. That's In fact, I didn't realise people actually watched Ask the Cheeseman during making cheese, so very unique. G'day to John and Drop In Bodies and another John Lord, John Webber. That we got all the Johns in the house today. Um, John Webber actually, and this is not this John Webber on here because he's spelt with one B, not two B's, is actually my father. My father is John Webber. And if you had listened to the Little Green Cheese podcast, there's actually an interview with my dad about the dairying days when I was a child. We used to live and work on a dairy farm in Loxton North in South Australia. It's not there anymore. It's reclaimed by nature due to irrigation licensing expenses and all that sort of stuff because it's in like a desert type thing. So yeah, no more dairy farming in the desert. Anyway, very cool. Aga, g'day. Thomas, g'day, mate. Patricia, lovely to see you again. Laura, thank you very much, Laura. And we got Blair. Who else we got? Dominique, g'day, mate. How are you? Larry, Deep South Texas, new F Dog, and it just goes on and on. Jeff, Sylvia, g'day, Sylvia. Ezekiel, g'day, mate. Jeff, again, no, I said Jeff already. Lewis, and I think I've said everybody. Well, most people. We'll get some more. Arsifer and Langhausen. I think I've got everybody. And another John Possum. Right, cool. So I think there's some questions in here somewhere. Let's have a look. Coffee first. Let me have a look. Right, Dominic has a question, as far as I can see. Good morning, Gav. What hard cheese I could make adding truffle and truffle salt? Let me think. I'd personally go for a cheddar-y style, maybe. Or what you could do is a truffle-infused bloomy rind cheese. So when you're adding the curd, say like making a camembert or brie style sort of thing. So when you put in half of the curds into the camembert mold, sprinkle a little bit of truffle powder, ground up truffles into that half, make a layer, and then put the rest of the curd on top. I think you'll find a beautiful infusion of truffles throughout the camembert. That's a good, bloomy rind cheese. You couldn't go past really a farmhouse cheddar, nice and simple, pretty easy to make, so that'd work. The curd nerd lamp's going. What's going on there? We've got another super chat, and this is from Sylvia. Thank you very much, Sylvia, for your $10 super chat. It says, "Hello, Mr. Weber. Am I able to brine my cheese in an enamel pot rather than a plastic container? Thank you and have a great day." Indeed, you can. In fact, there's your gold star, Sylvia. Thank you very much. Yes, you can. I use an enamel pot for making cheese in sometimes. I've got this really old one that Kim brought over from the UK many, many years ago, and it works fine, as long as there's not too much cracking in it. Sometimes the cracking harbours a little bit of bacteria, but if you wash it out with really hot water, and that'll kill it anyway, or boil the pot before you put the brine in it. But yeah, there shouldn't be any issues with that. Just watch for rust, because salt water obviously rusts things a lot faster than what normal plain water or pure water does. So yeah, so it should be fine. Thank you, Sylvia. Okay, moving right along. We've got another question from New F Dog. It says, "Hi Gavin and Kim. Canadian milk will not curdle enough to cut it into squares. I've tried everything. More rennet, less time, more less, and more citric acid. Any ideas?" Yes, and you're not going to like the answer. Use different milk. And it might be just Canadian standard milk, I think, because we've got some Canadians in the chat, and I think they don't have too many problems of making cheese. Uh, but yeah, you're going to have to find somewhere, and it's not easy, honestly, to find good unhomogenized milk. And I know that some countries just don't do it, but there's got to be somewhere that does sell that type of milk, or at least just normal pasteurized milk and not ultra pasteurized. And that's, if there's not enough milk fat in the milk, it does look, it does set, but not as well. Um, One thing you don't mention there is calcium chloride. Are you actually using calcium chloride to add back soluble calcium into the milk before you add the rennet? So just check that. If you're not, then that would be your solution. No problems at all, because I use pasteurised homogenised standard milk here in Australia. I don't know if it's abused any more or any less than Canadian milk, but by adding the same amount of calcium chloride as you do the amount of liquid rennet, it adds back soluble calcium that's destroyed during the pasteurization process. So it sets a better curd. So try that. Okay. Where are we up to? Um, Agus says, "Hot here. Gavin's wearing a jacket. Kim's got a cold. Must be winter over there. Great cheese making weather." Yes and no. Well, it is cold. That's a fact. Australian winter's upon us in this part of the country, anyway. Um, and yeah, winter's not the best for making cheese, because my kitchen is hovering around 18 degrees, and when I'm um, draining the cheeses or pressing the cheeses, I'm finding that they're not knitting together as well, because it's not warm enough for more whey to come out. So that's a bit of an issue. Ruth's got a question, says, "Have you made French mimolette? I read they used to make it all by infusing cheese mites to form a rind on purpose. Do they still do that?" Yes, indeed. They do still use cheese mites to make mimolette, because it's the enzyme that the cheese mite excretes actually makes the flavour of that cheese, or adds to the flavour of that cheese. Now, unfortunately, we can't get it over here because it's due to Australian quarantine laws, and I dare say probably quarantine laws in many, many countries. There's an issue getting little beasties attached to your cheese through the post. Um, so yeah, that's a bit of an issue. So no, I haven't tried it, and I don't think I'll ever be able to make it, because, well, I don't have cheese mites in the cheese cave. Well, not just yet, anyway. When I do, maybe an interesting experiment. But what I hear they do is actually put the cheese into a box of straw with the cheese mites living in it after it's been pressed, and they nibble on the outside of the cheese. Obviously, the cheese is very orange. I think they might add some annatto or some sort of colouring to it. But they nibble on the outside, excrete the enzyme, which soaks into the cheese. So that's how mimolette's kind of made. Jeff says Wisconsin is the capital of. Sorry, it's not the capital. It's the cheese capital of the USA. Have you ever made Limburger cheese? Indeed, I have. And if Kim can pull up the video for Limburger for Jeff, that would be fantastic. Thomas says, "What's the weirdest colour cheese?" Um, I don't know. I think my Shropshire Blue was pretty damn weird, being so orange. But there's really orange cheeses. You see them, and they're mostly artisan cheeses or specialty sort of cheeses. I've done green cheese using a sage derby, made that green. What else? Not too many other. Well, the pepper jack was red as anything. So look, it depends. You can add whatever colourings you want to cheese as long as they're food safe. I don't think there's too much of a problem. Okay. Aga says, I'm waiting on Parmesan. Looks all cracked and funky. October, we'll see. That will be good. Um, Ruth said something about, did I get the smoker? No, I didn't. I was making cheese all weekend, Ruth. Sorry. Um, Arsifer says his name's Martin. Well, hi, Martin. What kind of smoked cheese will you be making? John, it'll be a cheddar style, whatever it is. I've already got some planned. I've already got some ripening in the cheese cave, so I'm going to smoke something I've already got, which would be interesting. I'll do half of a round that I've made. Aquil says, what about me? Hello, Aquil. Beatrice, love your videos. I have impressed my friends with your recipes. Thank you, Beatrice. Charlie, g'day, mate. How are you? Lovely to see you on the channel. Pedros, g'day, Pedros. See you, man. Like from Brazil. And Jeff says, Limburger cheese, have you made it? Yes, indeed. And Kim, somewhere down there, will say something. Karen says, g'day, Gavin and Kim. What are your currently high and low temperatures where you are? Will it affect your ability to smoke cheese? Everybody's on the smoked cheese bandwagon. That means something to me. That means I need to write it down and actually pull my finger out. So, yeah, watch something soon. We'll see. I've got so many videos stacked up. Anyway, Martin says, except for processed American cheese, what are other cheeses you were really skeptical about at first, then surprised you positively? There's been two cheeses that I was reluctant to make, and don't ask me why, I just didn't. And that was traditional mozzarella, but using cow's milk, and to make the stretch. I've made quick mozzarella many, many times, and I was scared to take the leap. I don't know why. It's just one of those weird Gavin things. But I made it, and it turned out great. Had no problems with it. It was a lovely cheese. And the second one was cheddar. I had been making cheeses for about 2-3 years, maybe no, maybe 4 years now. I've been making cheese for 10 years, but about, no, I can't remember. I don't know. Whenever my cheddar video was put out, the cloth banded cheddar, that was the first real cheddar that I made using the cheddaring process and all that sort of stuff. I was skeptical that it was going to work because, it's such an abundant cheese and it's the number one cheese in the world that people eat besides mozzarella. And I was skeptical that it was going to work, and it turned out to be one amazing cheese, especially after I matured it for an entire year. That was quite amazing. Okay, Beatrice says, I made a truffle brick tree cheese with ground truffle. I bet it was very truffly. So, very cool indeed. John says, Brie and Camembert smells like mushrooms already. That would make the most fantastic mushroomy, bloomy rind cheese. Yeah, I think it would. Norberto, I think that's how you pronounce it. Hi, I'm from Argentina. Which cheese can I do just using yogurt as a culture? Well, Norberto, good question. And I actually made one on the weekend. So the Crescenza uses yogurt as the starter culture. So watch for that. That'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks. It's sitting in the normal kitchen fridge, so you don't need a ripening cave or anything like that. At the moment, maturing, and I've got to check it today and take a little bit of footage, so that'll be good. And another good cheese, provolone, is another one that I used. Yogurt as the starter culture, so that's cool. And you can also use cultured buttermilk as a mesophilic, an aromatic mesophilic culture as well. But yeah, so watch for that videos soon. Um, Patricia says, thinking of making cow's milk manchego. Your version includes no taste test. Were you happy with it? What would you change? Um, we have a super chat, and I haven't seen it come up, unless my curd nerd lamp's playing up. Oh, there we go. It's from Bob and Barb Kennel. Thank you, Bob and Barb, for your $1.99 donation. Appreciate it. And the question, if I can find it, where the heck are we? Manchego. Was I happy with it? Yes, I was. It was very nice. And that's for Bob and Barb. Happy Star Dancing. Um, yeah, it was. It was a lovely taste. So don't forget to add the lipase, though, Patricia, when you're making it. Um, if I could get my hands on some more sheep's milk, hint, hint, Graham Strong, if you're watching, I would love to make some sheep's milk manchegos, and that's what it's traditionally made with. That would be really nice. But I think the cow's milk version that I made, it kind of leaned towards the taste of more like parmesan than manchego. And I've had real sheep's milk manchego since then, on the Cheese a Day challenge that I did. And we had some real manchego from Spain that was lovely. Um, Very subtle flavour. The paste was very white due to the lack of beta carotene in sheep's milk, but really like rich, very rich because of the high fat content in sheep's milk. So I was happy with what I made, but it wasn't the same as manchego. So don't be disappointed if it doesn't taste exactly like manchego. You got to remember, all these homemade cheeses we make, um, a few taste similar to what we've bought before, but some just don't. So we're using a different type of milk. But give it a go, Patricia. It was quite nice. I really did enjoy it. And I'm sorry that was back before the days of the taste test, because new to YouTube and finding my feet with the channel and all that sort of stuff. I really didn't. I didn't know what sort of content to put up, so I was just kept on making cheese making videos without actually tasting them. And now I do, and everybody sees the end result, which is cool. Beatrice says, when I make bloomy rinds like camembert, they start off beautifully, but at some point they start leaking. Do you know what I'm doing wrong? I let them sit in their mould for a long time to drain. They start leaking. I don't know what you mean. Maybe hang off until I get this stabilized paste bloomy rind video up and running, and fingers crossed it'll work for me. I may have to do it. I'm going to mature the one that I made. It's too high and I think it's too acidic, but I might make it again in the next couple of days, video it again. But we'll see how that goes. I've got to test it with some pH strips that I've got after the show. So, but yeah, stabilized paste, you won't have any issues like that. It'll be, it's a lot less acidic, has a lot less tendency to weep during the formation of the bloomy white rind. Okay, Marianne. G'day, Marianne. Gavin, I made what I call a homemade Velveeta. Used my fresh goat's milk, citric acid, salt, and a bit of butter. I bet that tastes nice. Yeah, you couldn't go wrong with the fresh goat's milk for sure, Marianne. Sounds like a cracker of a cheese, as Wallace would say. Lewis says, "Hey Gavin, what's your favourite of the cheddar style cheeses? I have Lancashire and Cheshire in my cheese cave, but not sure what cheddar like to try next." You'll find that those two cheeses are fairly crumbly. Cheshire definitely is. Lancashire, not so much. In fact, I think I haven't. Have I tasted my Lancashire yet? I don't think I have. I think it's still in the cheese cave. Try, and this one surprised me. Try making a stir curd cheddar like I used what was it? Have a look at the jalapeno cheddar video. I used the stirred curd method then, or the same as the farmhouse cheddar blue. It's called farmhouse cheese. And the culture I used was it was by Danisco Choose It is the company that makes it. I think it's owned by DuPont. And it's called MA 4001 or 4002. It's called a farmhouse culture. It's supposed to resemble as close as possible to raw milk, the cultures, the lactic bacteria that are in raw milk. Um, and to my surprise, that method and that starter culture made one of the most excellent cheddars or cheddar flavored cheeses or style cheeses that I had ever had. So try that. It really does. Um, it really it did blow my mind. It was very very nice. Okay, we have another super chat. Thank you very much. Just turn the light off. Thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate it. Greg says, no question, just wanted to shout out. Love to you, Kim, and now Ben for the Do for the Curd World. Thank you very much, Greg. Appreciate it, mate. Okay. And thank you for the $15 super chat. Of course, I should have mentioned that. Where are we? I answered Lewis's question. Yes. Jordan's question is: I made my first Cotswold, and its first month is tomorrow. We are going to cut out a wedge. Oh no! And try it at 1, 2, and 3 months. I think you may find that at 1 month old, it may be bitter. Just from experience, nothing scientific, but the proteins haven't had a chance to break down properly yet. Uh, I I would personally, I would not touch it until 3 months at all. I would then try it at 3, maybe 6, maybe 9 months, but never 1 month old. Way too young. Um, Newf Dog says raw milk will get you thrown in jail. Thanks. Well, it will here if they can catch you, but rules are meant to be broken. Aga says the quality of milk generally available to the public is seriously subpar on many levels, not just for cheese making. Never a truer word said, Aga. Really, the milk that they serve to us as drinking milk is subpar. It really does not taste anything like what comes out of a cow. And I should know, that's all I drank as a kid. Um, John Lord says, Beatrice, do you air dry and turn until, and then put into a cheese locker? That's a good suggestion because your camemberts should be fairly dry before you put them into the cheese cave at 13 degrees Celsius for the bloomy rind to grow. G'day, Jim. How are you? Johns also says, true handmade French brie is notable for not having industrial walls, but saggy edges. Indeed, they do sag. Aga says, definitely an interesting experiment. Make a simple cheese and stick it outside in the ox environment. Ox? Oz? Oz environment, see what the Oz beasties do to it. I dare say flies will blow into it, just like, say, Casu Marzu. So that's what I think would happen. Where the heck? I'm lost. Where are we? Okay. Ruth said, I bought some Mimolette. It tastes good. Tastes like cheddar, but more nutty. Very orange colour. Might be the weirdest colour cheese. Yes, it is very orange. And I'm surprised you actually got some in the US there, Ruth. But yeah, definitely, I have not seen it for sale here in Australia. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. They may have lowered the quarantine laws for cheeses. We don't get many raw milk cheeses either here in Australia. Due to regulations being so tough that the artisan cheesemakers who do cheese on a small scale, it is too costly for them to regulate the cheese. What am I trying to say? It's too costly for them to manufacture it by sticking to all the regulations, if that makes sense. Anyway, Karen says, Question regarding dry texture in a couple of my cheeses. My Caffili and Gouda will slice but fall apart pretty easily. Salt and temperature are right on. How much should I reduce my stirring time? Um, so a couple of things that may be right here. Maybe a little bit too much rennet. So maybe ease off by 5%. Rennet, and even if it takes a little bit of a longer time, that's okay. So try that first, Karen. Stirring time, I will reduce my stirring velocity and the time you're stirring, probably 10%. So try that. So reduce it by 10%, figure it out. And you should be right. You'll find that the cheese will be a bit moister. Also, maybe when you cut the curds, it's better if they're cut and you wait the amount of time. Maybe wait a little bit more for them to heal. That could help. So there's some suggestions. Kim, thanks for the link on Limburger. David, hi Gavin. Which cheese tutorial will be next? The next one will be Skiz, which is a fresh Italian cheese. Thomas says, what's the most time-consuming cheese you have ever made? Ooh, that'll be a toss-up between Wensleydale and Provolone, I would think. Yes, they were the most time-consuming cheeses I've made. Oh, and any bloomy rind or blue cheese take ages during the turning and draining process. We're talking days. Like the Camembert style, the stabilised paste bloomy rind that I'm making, I'm up to day 4 and it hasn't left the kitchen sink yet. So, much to Kim's disgust. Where are we up to? Kevin says, in Canada, you can get a grateable mozzarella called pizza mozzarella with the consistency of a soft Gouda. How do you make it? Yeah, look, that's usually made with cow's milk, not buffalo's milk. And if you follow the traditional mozzarella recipe that I made, well, it's not really traditional because it's not made with buffalo's milk. So it's a Fiora di Latte, I think is how you pronounce it, mozzarella. And that does have the consistency, if you leave it for a couple of days to harden up, of pizza mozzarella that you buy in the bag already grated, that sort of stuff. So that's kind of how you make that. Ruth says, I'm getting ready to make Emmentaler. Your video was made in 2013. Has anything changed since then? Or do you still stand behind it? If I remember rightly, the eye development wasn't very good, and I should have used a lot more milk. I think it was an 8-litre recipe. I would increase that to 12 minimum because you need the bulk of the cheese, as I've discovered with making, say, Jarlsberg and Leerdama, which are 2 eye-formed cheeses. You really do have to have a large wheel to get it to work. So, look, I stand by the vid, but it's just the cheese was too small and the eye development was minuscule. The flavour was outstanding, but yeah. So I think room temperature for 2 weeks to make the eye development, that works. But I probably would add just a tiny little bit more propionic Shimani as well. So hopefully that helps, Ruth, in your quest for the perfect Emmentaler. Remember that Emmentaler is made in like 50 kilogram wheels, so there's no way we're going to replicate the texture and the eye formation that you see in those cheeses. We can do just our best. Beatrice says the cream seeps out of the rind. That seems bizarre. If it's just the way and it's running clear, that's okay. But are you talking about when, and this is for Beatrice, are you talking about when the cheese has fully developed or partly developed and the bloomy rind is intact? Yes, the white mold, Penicillium candidum and Geotrichum candidum, if you're using those 2 molds, will make the cheese and the paste go very, very runny if it's at a higher temperature. Once the cheeses are wrapped after about 10 days and you've got the bloomy rind and you've wrapped them up, put them in the kitchen fridge if you're not doing that already. It slows down the process dramatically, the acidification process, and stops the paste from going runny. Well, that's the theory anyway. We have another super chat, which is from Karen, and Karen says, "Thank you." No, thank you, Karen. Appreciate it. Thanks for your $5 super chat. So, Beatrice, I hope that kind of clarifies a little bit. Maybe that's what's happening. Kevin says, to all, I have recently used pasteurized, unhomogenized milk, and it makes a far superior cheese. It does indeed, Kevin. And we've got another super chat there. It's Super Chat City. Keeps the show going. Who's this one from? Paul. Thank you, Paul. Just a cheesy hello. Well, hello to you too, mate. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. Okay. Where I'm up to. Newf Dog says, I made 2 batches of mozzarella and they're just like rubber. Tastes good though. Depends on the type of mozzarella you're talking about. If you're talking about quick mozzarella or mozzarella acidified with citric acid, then yes, they do tend to be fairly rubbery. And over time, I'm talking in the space of 2 days, they tend to go flat as well in the kitchen fridge. Mozzarella made with starter cultures to acidify them don't taste as rubbery, and they are a lot more delightful. And if you can get your hands on buffalo milk, even better. Even better. Okay, Marianne says, I forgot to add baking soda. Baking soda? What was that in reference to? No, I've lost what we were talking about. Sorry, Marianne. Where the heck am I up to? Bob and Kennel says, I love, Bob and Barb say, hi, Gavin, love all your videos. I've made Gouda, Colby, Buddha Kaiser, and Kafili, and all came out with a bite or bitterness. What did I do wrong? I followed the recipes very closely. Check the strength of your rennet. If mine is... I use Trimax Plus by C.H.R. Hansen. It's a microbial rennet. It has an IMCU of 200. So maybe if your IMCU is higher, like 280, 300, then ease off a little bit. That can cause bitterness. Lack of salt also causes bitterness in a big way, in a very big way. So check your salt levels. They should roughly be between 2 and 2.5% of the total weight of curd. And that's just a rule of thumb. Some cheeses are highly more salted, some are less salted. The bloomy one's less salted than the hard cheeses and the hard cheeses and the things like feta and stuff like that. They're very salty. But yeah, between 2 and 2.5% is what you are aiming for. And usually it's lack of salt which causes bitterness in most cheeses. Okay. Where the heck? I just lost myself. Marianne says, to the list. Forgot to add baking soda to the list. No, you've lost me there. Patricia says, sheep's milk is richer than cow's milk. Thoughts on adding some cream to the cow's milk when making manchego to boost the richness? Yeah, look, Patricia, you could. I would add a cup, maybe 250 mils of cream. Make sure it's just pure cream that's got no gelatin or anything like that, no thickeners, what have you, to 10 litres of milk. That's about as much cream as I would add without it going crazy. Still, you're probably not going to get the same taste and texture. You won't get the same texture, but the taste may be then similar. Martin says, have you tried any Swedish cheeses? Do you like any of them? Västerbotten, I think that's how you say it. Cheese pie, for example. No, I haven't had the chance to try any Swedish cheeses. I hear there's some pretty good ones. and I don't know if I'm in the right country, but I know it's in Scandinavia somewhere. There's a cheese, and I can't pronounce it, that only can be made in one factory. There's something about the environment of the factory that they make this cheese, and can't remember what it's called. But sorry, I'll get out of that. Kim's answering Bob and Barb. Hang on. No, Gavin wants to. Well, sorry. I'll start again. Bob and Barb says, "Hey Kim, how do I get a super chat to work and hit? But I had not got my question in." Oh, okay. So, yeah, Bob and Barb, when you do the super chat thing, hang on, I'll demonstrate. Hang on, I'll just bring it up. Desktop number one. Here we are. So down here, little dollar sign. When you go up and you want to show support for Gavin, send a super chat. See, it comes up here. I've chosen whatever tier. You know, you can be generous and do that. That would be fantastic. But you can go as little as $1. If you do $1 and below, you can't do a chat. You got to do $2 and above, and then you can put your message in there. And there it is. And then that's my little message. Hello, Curd Nerds. And you buy and send. And if you don't have your credit card registered with YouTube, then it won't come up. But it should work. It's thinking about it. Maybe my credit card's expired. But yeah, what's going on there, Gav? Well, that didn't work, did it? Anyway, I'll get rid of that. Back to Gav. Unless you guys can see the super chat already, which might work. Okay, where I'm up to. Now I've got a very small window. It won't show me anything. Oh, there we go. Beatrice asks, does anybody know where I can get raw milk in the Ottawa, Canada area? Here's a hint. If you pop over to cheesemaking.com, I think it's the New England Cheesemaking Supply, they've actually got a link there somewhere on their site around where you can get raw milk in lots of countries. So raw milk supplies. Dodgy is well, I'm not going to say dodgy. They're not dodgy. The farmers aren't dodgy. They're just doing the right thing, as far as I'm concerned. But have a look. There's a link, and you should be able to get it. In fact, I might be able to get the link here. Let me just quickly. New England Cheesemaking Supplies, which is one of our competitors in the US. Resources. Let's go to resources. Good milk. Find good milk locally. Oh, hang on. That's what I want. So if you go here, that's a nice picture of a cow, of course. You can put in, I don't know if it does Australian. Let's put in an Australian zip code. Probably go, I can't find. Right, so you got to put your American zip code in, maybe. I don't know. Let's have a look. We want cow's milk. We want goat's milk. We want sheep's milk. Okay. Are there any for Canada? There's none. Local supplies. Oh, too many criteria. It just got confused to heck. Right. So, yeah. Okay. Let's scroll out a bit. Some in the US. Are there any in Australia? No pins in Australia. Okay, not so good then. Maybe not as good as resources I was led to believe. So no, everything seems to be in Minnesota and Iowa and Wisconsin, and no cheeses anywhere else. Yeah, maybe, or maybe I'm not using it properly. Right, get out of that. Cheese Club. No, all right. Well, that's what I was led to believe. That was a good resource, but maybe not so good. Alrighty. Back to the questions. Sorry about that. Oops. Um, Karen says, thank you for all you do. Appreciate your help. Thank you very much. John says, raw milk in Australia, in the USA is vastly prohibited because they won't tell you that we have a pandemic of bovine leukemia in the livestock. All those antibiotics in the cattle to keep fever, to keep in fever and keep down. USDA rules. Oh, okay. Um, where are we? Brandon says, "Hi Gavin, have you ever wore or made a wedge-shaped cheese hat with real cheese?" No, no, I haven't. Karen says, "I'll be more gentler, more healing time, reduce the rennet by 5%, time by 10. Thanks, by the way. I generally use raw milk from a high quality source." Oh, you should, yeah, definitely reduce the rennet. Definitely if you're using raw milk. Okay. Um, David says, "Is there a difference between a large granulated salt and fine salt? I could be going mad, but weighing fine salt to the correct portions seems to be a huge amount of salt compared to cheese salt." Yes, indeed. Different granulated salts do have different weights. Um, However, that said, I was measuring out as part of our business some dead sea salt yesterday. I used coarse grade dead sea salt and fine grade. I don't use it in cheese, it's just purely for cosmetics. Um, but the volume, would you believe, is exactly the same. It was. Even though I have seen comparisons to, flaky salt and granulated salt and rock salt are different, then yeah, look, I tend to use the finer salt because a lot of dairies seem to use that, or creameries use that. The granulated salt, the larger granules, are used by some cheese makers, but I just stick to the fine grade salt. Seems to work just as well. Maybe that's why I don't have bitter cheese. Adin Rose says, hello all, hello. Beatrice says, oh, more clues on the camembert. Beatrice says, yes, when the bloomy rind is started on the camembert, it seeps out when already in the fridge. Right. So, ripening time, 1 week less, then eat it. So instead of going to the 4 weeks, um, plus it seems to be quite active when you've got it at the normal, say 10 to 13 degrees. Um, and maybe the stabilized paste version that I'm making will fix that. Kevin says in North America, would that be North America? There are bison. Has anybody ever used bison milk? Not even sure if you can milk a bison without getting killed. Yeah. Okay. Um, Eric says, would you ever consider doing Provel cheese? Provel, what the heck is that? That's something I've never heard of before. I'll have a look. Not sure what it is. Um, Richard says, hi, Gavin and Kim. There are two hard cheese kits in the shop. Which one do you recommend over the other? And is there anything I should get in addition to the kit? Richard, there's a hard cheese kit which doesn't include a press. Um, that was the original one we got, and then there's now the Mad Millie artisan cheese kit, which I think is the other hard cheese kit you're referring to. That actually includes a press in it. They're both as good as each other. As you said, one has a press and one doesn't, hence the price difference. But you can always buy the hard cheese kit, and it gives you most of the stuff you need besides your pot and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, you shouldn't have any issues with either. I've used components from both and have no problems making cheese, including the cultures. Okay, Ruth says we can get raw milk in San Francisco, California. It's wonderful and seems to have solved most of the problems I was having. I can get it at my health food store. Yeah, it would solve most of the problems. Um, Patricia says, Beatrice, for raw milk, check across the Ontario QC. What's QC? Quebec, maybe? Border. You might have better luck finding raw milk in Quebec. Um, Kim put the link up before I got there. Well done, Kim. You're the best. Ruth says, I used to have a super chat problem, Bob and Barb. Might be that your text is too long for the amount you're trying to send. Try either making your text shorter. Richard, we cannot buy raw milk, but we can buy part of a cow and pay a small fee for someone to milk it and jar it, and then we pick up the milk. Yes, a cow cooperative, I think it's called, and I have read about that as well. Beatrice says, I've spoken to farmers and they are all too scared to lose their dairy license. Yeah, indeed. Bruce says Colorado has Colorado Raw Milk Association, which has several in this part of the country. Karen says, I live in Washington State, the Pacific Northwest. I have 4 local dairies that sell in my local market. Natural Selection near Idaho has 1 local dairy available. All have excellent raw milk. Jesbin says, vinegar works fine when making mozzarella. Rennet is only for hard cheese. I'll take your opinion on that. Martin says it's 1:16 here in Sweden right now. It was nice tuning in for an hour. Hope you have a great day. Thanks, mate. I hope I didn't skip 1,000 comments there. We've got another super chat, and it wasn't mine. I don't think I can do a super chat on my own channel. That's probably half the problem. Paul says, what are the IMCU values of single strength versus double strength rennets? Paul, typically the IMCU for single strength rennet is between 200 and 280, roughly. And then double strength rennets are usually between 400 and 500 IMCU. So I hope that answers your question. Passionate Lobster says, greetings, cheese wizard. Okay, cool. Karen says, Bel Paese smokes up beautifully. I reckon it would. It's a lovely tasting cheese as well. And Seven Hunter says, hi, Gavin's wondering if you reuse your cheesecloth, and if so, how do you clean it? Okay, yes, I do. I reuse all my cheesecloths. What I do is once I've finished with the cheesecloth, I don't let them go crusty. If I can't get to the washing machine because Kim's put washing in it or what have you, then I keep it in there's a little sink I've got next to my big sink in the kitchen, and I fill that up with warm water and just leave it in there so it doesn't go crusty. When the washing machine's available, we've got a front loader. I take it out, put it on the shortest wash we've got, which is the 30-minute express wash. I put the temperature to cold. In the fabric softener area, the little drawer that pulls out, I put in white vinegar, fill that right to the top. Do not put any detergent in it whatsoever, just the white vinegar, and then run it through its cycle, and then it comes out smelling fresh as a daisy. Would have killed most of the molds and bacteria that were in the cheesecloth, and then I hang it in the sun if I can, and that'll kill even more bacteria. And then when it's dry, fold it up, put it in a plastic bag into the my drawer where all the cheese gizzards go, and that's what I do. So yes, that's how you clean them. Okay, so thanks for that, and we've got 7 minutes left. Mizardi says, I left my milk with rennet to ripen for 12 hours. The curds were floating when I came back. I ended up finishing the process by pressing the cheese. Is it safe to consume? Yes, it is. It is safe. If you added some salt, it's even safer. But if you haven't added any salt, then it will probably not last past about 3 to 4 days, maybe a little bit longer, because it'll acidify and go off, or it'll be prone to infection because there's not enough salt to preserve it. Kristen says, Gavin, your preference, sheep or goat's cheese? I like both. I like all cheeses, by the way. You're not going to stump me there with that question. But yeah, I think sheep's cheese tastes great. Goat's cheese tastes great. They all have their particular nuances. I think they're lovely. And obviously cow's milk tastes fantastic as well. Ruth says, thanks for the show, Kim and Gavin. Feel better, Kim. See you all next time. Thank you very much, Ruth. Appreciate it. And Craig says, you might want to boil the cheesecloth before washing it. It will deactivate the molds and culture. Craig, what I do is before I use the cheesecloth in any session, I boil it beforehand. So when I've got all my utensils in there, and I'll just clear that. And thanks to Mazzardi for your $5 super chat. Appreciate it. I boil all of the all the utensils, all the stainless steel stuff, and the cheesecloth goes into the boiling water for 15 minutes, and that kills off any bacteria. Then I put it in the drainer until I'm ready to go. So I prefer to boil the cheesecloth just before I'm about to use it, so that'll kill off anything then. Okay, Charlie says Bel Paese makes a really nice blue cheese. Yeah, I think it would. If you can get the blue to grow, it matures for what, 3 weeks? So yeah, it shouldn't be too bad. It's probably a good idea. That would be nice. Kevin says, what diameter are your camembert molds? Homemade molds. My homemade ones. The homemade ones I used, made out of some PVC pipe, which I don't recommend anymore because it's not food safe, were about 10 centimetres across and about 10 centimetres high, which is about the same as traditional standard camembert molds, which we've got. And have I got time to show them in the shop? Cheese baskets. Here we go. So if we go to the shop and have a look, here's the camembert mold that we sell. And quick as a flash, there we go. So it's 9.6 centimetres across the top. Bottom diameter is 9 centimetres and the height is 9.2 centimetres. So if you don't do metric, you'll have to figure that out for yourself. So it's made from food-grade plastic, high-density polyethylene. And it's dishwasher safe, which I like about them, whereas the PVC ones were not dishwasher safe. They actually broke, melted in the dishwasher. So don't use those. Kim's given me the links for the wind-up, which is tells me I'm out of time. So we've been streaming for over an hour now, which is great. So thanks, everybody, for joining the chat today and making the show what it was. Without your content, it wouldn't be a show, basically. And we wouldn't have any questions, and it wouldn't be Ask the Cheeseman, would it? So thank you very much for week on week attending. Don't forget the next show is on Saturday at the same time on the same channel. So it's 8:30 Australian Eastern Standard Time. So if you want to pick up any supplies or anything, pop over to littlegreenworkshops.com.au. Kim's popped the link in there. And if you want to support us, you can do that via YouTube memberships, which there's a join button below, or via Patreon on an ongoing basis. And don't forget some of the cheese merch over at Teespring. There should be a little merch shelf somewhere under the video if it's available in your country. And Kim put the Camembert link there for me as a backup. That's absolutely fantastic. Well, thank you, everybody. And it's been a great show. And hopefully next Wednesday we'll see Ben, because Kim will be feeling a little bit better. That will be lovely. All right. Thanks, Curd Nerds. We'll see you next time.